Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something a little different this time. Your latest newsletter on London travel got me thinking about iconic addresses and, well, 221B Baker Street.
Ah, yes. The home of the legendary Sherlock Holmes.
Precisely. But that got me wondering, what makes this fictional address one of the most famous in London? It's not Buckingham Palace or 10 Downing Street.
It really fascinating, isn't it, how a fictional character can have such a profound impact on the real world?
Exactly. I mean, how did it even become this world-famous landmark if the address wasn't even real when the stories were written?
Well, you see, as London grew and the street numbering system changed, 221B Baker Street eventually came into existence. But even before that, people were so captivated by Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, people sent letters addressed to him at 221B Baker Street.
You're kidding. To a fictional detective.
Absolutely. And get this, the Abbey National Building Society, which occupied that stretch of Baker Street at the time, they received so much mail for Sherlock Holmes that they had to hire a secretary specifically to respond to it.
Wow, that's incredible. Talk about dedicated fans. So, how did this fictional address become a real place? Is it just a random building, or is there something more to it? For someone who enjoys London as much as I do.
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. In 1990, the Sherlock Holmes Museum opened its doors at, you guessed it, 221B Baker Street.
Ah, I see. So they capitalize on the legendary status.
Exactly. It created a tangible connection to the fictional world.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So is the museum more about authenticity or, fan service?
It's a bit of both, actually. The museum meticulously recreates Sherlock Holmes's study, Mrs. Hudson's quarters, and even the iconic sitting room overlooking Baker Street.
Oh, wow. Attention to detail.
Right. It obviously caters to fans, but also speaks to our deeper desire to connect with the stories and characters we love.
I can definitely see that. It's like stepping into the pages of the books. So it's easy to see why it's such a popular attraction for fans worldwide. But going back to what we were talking about before, famous addresses, what makes 201B Baker Street stand out compared to, say, Buckingham Palace or 10 Downing Street?
That's a great question. While those places represent power and history, 221B Baker Street represents something different: the power of imagination.
The power of imagination.
Yes, it's a place where fiction has quite literally become reality, drawing people in with the allure of mystery and adventure.
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it, how a fictional address can become so deeply embedded in our collective consciousness. What do you think it is about Sherlock Holmes and 221B Baker Street that continues to fascinate us?
Well, aside from the brilliant detective work, of course, I think it speaks to our enduring fascination with Victorian London, a time of gaslights, hansom cabs.
That romanticized vision of the past. It's
Exactly.
like a time capsule frozen in that moment when Sherlock Holmes was at the height of his powers.
Precisely. And for fans, visiting 221B Baker Street is like stepping back in time and experiencing that world firsthand.
So it's more than just a museum. It's a portal into a world of mystery and intrigue that continues to captivate us over a century later.
I'd say so. It's really quite extraordinary. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? How stories, even fictional ones, can become a part of our reality, you know, shaping how we view the world, even influencing the physical landscape, you could say.
You're right. It's not just Sherlock Holmes himself, right? 221B Baker Street also represents that specific time and place, a certain era in London's history. It's almost like stepping into a time capsule.
Precisely. It reflects that fascination we have, that enduring fascination with the Victorian era, the atmosphere, the unique aesthetic.
Speaking of other eras, the newsletter I shared also mentioned some other famous London addresses, like Buckingham Palace, 10 Downing Street. What do you think sets those apart from 221B Baker Street, in terms of that iconic status?
Interesting comparison. While Buckingham Palace and 10 Downing Street represent that tangible power.
You mean like the monarchy?
The monarchy, yes, and the government, respectively. But 221B Baker Street, it represents the power of imagination and storytelling, a testament to how a fictional creation can, well, capture the public's imagination, become a symbol in its own right.
So while those other addresses might draw crowds because of their historical and political significance, 221B Baker Street draws people in with that allure of mystery and adventure.
Exactly. People visit Buckingham Palace to witness the grandeur of the monarchy. They go to 221B Baker Street to experience the world of Sherlock Holmes, to feel like they are stepping into one of his stories.
It's almost as if by visiting these places, we can keep those stories alive, even long after the last page has been turned. It makes you wonder what other fictional addresses might hold that same power, that same draw.
A fascinating thought indeed. What about Hogwarts from Harry Potter? Or Bilbo Baggins' Hobbit Hole from The Hobbit? These places have truly captured our imaginations. I'm sure many fans would love to experience them in a real way.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine stepping into Hogwarts or having tea in Bilbo's Hobbit Hole. It really speaks to the power of stories to transport us to other worlds, doesn't it?
And to inspire us. Think about the impact these stories have on us, making us think, feel, and even dream of different possibilities.
So 221B Baker Street isn't just a famous address. It's a symbol of the enduring power of stories to capture our imaginations, to shape our world in a way.
Absolutely. It reminds us that even something fictional can have a real and lasting impact on us.
It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? A place that never existed, becoming so iconic. What does this all mean for our listener, do you think, as they plan their London adventures?
I think it challenges us to think about the places we're drawn to, not just for their physical presence, but for the stories they tell, the emotions they evoke.
It seems like a visit to 221B Baker Street offers more than just a glimpse into the world of Sherlock Holmes. It offers a glimpse into our own fascination with storytelling, with the power of imagination to shape our world.
Precisely. It's a testament to how stories can blur the lines between fiction and reality, creating places and experiences that resonate with us on a really deep personal level.
It really makes you think. So, for our listeners out there, why should they care about this whole 221B Baker Street story?
I think it serves as a great reminder that stories can have real power. The power to transcend the page, to become a part of us. They can inspire us, transport us to different places and times, and even, I'd argue, shape how we see the world around us.
And for someone who loves London, like our listener, it adds another dimension to exploring the city. It's not just about the historical landmarks, right? It's also about those fictional places that have captured our imaginations.
Absolutely. It encourages us to think differently about those places that draw us in, not just for what they are physically, but for the stories they tell, the feelings they evoke.
It sounds like a trip to 221B Baker Street would be like stepping back in time, a chance to walk in the footsteps of a legend, even if that legend is fictional.
Exactly. And it really highlights what makes London so unique, wouldn't you say? That blend of history and imagination.
We've talked about how 221B Baker Street is different from other famous London addresses, but it does make me wonder, are there other fictional addresses out there that have that same power, that ability to go beyond the page and become real-world destinations?
Such a good question. What other places have captured our imaginations in the same way? Well, maybe Hogwarts from Harry Potter, with those magical classrooms and moving staircases, or perhaps Bilbo Baggins' Hobbit Hole nestled in the Shire. These places hold a certain magic for us, and it would be amazing to see them come to life.
It would be incredible. It really gets you thinking about the power of storytelling. If fictional addresses can become real, what does that say about how stories can inspire us, connect us, even leave a lasting impact? Something to ponder as you explore the world, both the real one and the ones in our imaginations.
Absolutely. And it's a great note to end on, don't you think? The power of stories.
Mhm.
Until next time.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.